Mardi Gras mambo, 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 Mardi Gras mambo. Down in New Orleans.
Yeah, you're right. That, my friends, is the one and only.
How y'all doing?
John Goodman's in the house. And whenever I think of John Goodman, man, I think of... Come on, John.
The
New
Neville
Orleans. Can you stand it?
Yeah, you're right.
You have so many love affairs in your life, but I think one of your biggest...
Gulp.
But I think one of your biggest, maybe with that city.
It is. I still can't describe it. I never could. The first time I went down there was with 50 fraternity guys from Southwest Missouri State University, and we were only there for a brief time. But and I hadn't seen anything in my life.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen anything. But this. I mean, we were walking along Decatur Street, which is the closest commercial street to the river, and I looked above me, and there were ships passing by, and it just looked like an old seaport where I could get killed real easy if I had enough money. I was too poor to even be killed back then. But I don't know what it is. I said something one time about it answers a part of the DNA in some people's body that it just fills it in for them, and they're at home there. And maybe it was a past life.
Okay.
If you go for such things.
Okay, my eyes just welled up when you said that, because that's actually the perfect description. That's the perfect description.
It's because I lack the wit and the words to define it. I don't know what it is. It's just my favorite thing to do now is walk my dog in the Garden District.
Oh my God!
And, I had a long time resentment against the tourists. And it's their perfect right to get in these tour groups and visit and see the beautiful homes and dump soda cans in my yard and whatnot. But it just bothered me. I felt like a zoo animal on display. But about 3 weeks ago, I just turned it around because I was tired of being angry about it all the time. So I just started kidding with them.
You did?
Yeah, they said I was walking by a tour group that was standing in front of a house that Sandra Bullock owns, and I said, "Tell them about the dead body she's got in the basement and the laboratory." And I just walked on, but just start kidding with them, and it just makes all the difference. Get rid of that resentment.
One of my favorite things when I used to live there, I lived on the corner of Charters and Governor Nichols, on that corner right across from the hotel, the Soniat House. I used to live right there, and I remember they'd have like little kids doing like school trips. Local kids, and I still remember the teacher pointing up to the sign and having a whole classroom full of first graders going, "Bourbon, bourbon." I remember just watching and crack, and it was so New Orleans because I just thought that is like quintessential.
I want to get a bunch of those T-shirts where they got the funny guys in screwy top hats hanging off a lamppost with X's for eyes. Yeah. Bourbon Street. I want to get them before they go out of style. You know what I really want?
What?
Is a vintage Neville Brothers T-shirt.
Oh, my God.
I can't find them.
You're going to find them. We're going to find them for you. I've got John Goodman sitting here. And, John, there's so much. I mean, when we just were watching you walk across the glass doors to come in, you made us happy. And I think there's something about you, and you have that effect on people. You have with me, and I remember just running into you in New Orleans and feeling like I'd seen an old friend. Yeah. And it all started, I was looking back and I was wondering like how this whole situation began. And I was reading, like you're the class clown kid. You were the kid who was entertaining people when you were in high school. Were you a popular kid, or were you
I'll be honest with you. I always felt like an outsider, and I tried too hard. That was, let's bring this down right now. Let's crash this whole thing out. I think it all led from that, wanting acceptance, telling jokes to the big hard guys so that they'd keep people from beating me up or whatever, and I just craved attention. Yeah, because I was a latchkey. This is a theory. Yeah. I was a latchkey kid, and I scraped through school. I barely got out, and I was very, very lucky to go to the college I went to. But
You were a football guy in
no,
college.
I played in high school. I got hurt. I was big and slow, but I loved to hit. And I went down to Springfield, Missouri to try to walk on the football team, which is, if you're not picked, you walk on and try to find your own place in it. And they started giving me stuff about grades. What are these grades you're talking about? And by the time the next season rolled around, I was involved in the theater department, and that sealed my deal, sealed my fate, and it gave me a reason, A, to finish college, and B, a direction in life, because things I didn't care about before. I only existed in a classroom to draw attention to myself, apparently. But it made me open my eyes to history, all the other arts, and analysis, self-analysis, but the analysis of a script. It just, all that good, boring actor crap.
Was your mom, when you were letting her know that, and your mom I know worked hard to take care of you, but when you said, I want to be an actor, Mom, and I'm going to college to do that, was she bumming? Or?
I wasn't necessarily going to college to do that. It was keeping me in college because all of a sudden the grades started improving, and I really wanted to work. I don't think, she was so occupied with making ends meet that it really didn't make a difference, as long as you're happy, because I fully expected to move to New York and be home within 2 or 3 months.
Wow.
Yeah. But I know if I didn't try, I would kick myself in the rear end for the rest of my life.
Now, I read something about, like, you had $1,000.
My brother
Oh, your brother lent it to you?
He saved up some money for me to go maybe start grad school somewhere.
Wow, that's a nice brother.
Yeah, well, I didn't get into Yale drama, so I.
So you took the $1,000 and went to New York.
Yeah. It's good I didn't have to audition for anything because I couldn't remember monologues.
So you show up in New York with $1,000. Where are you living? What are you doing?
I lived with a man who designed costumes at the college before I got there. Would take people in occasionally who moved to New York. And I had a girlfriend who was more industrious than I was and willing to take temp jobs. I couldn't get arrested. My first job was as a bouncer over on 2nd Avenue.
Yeah.
And they had this great big German guy who was the head bouncer, and he's telling us this disgusting things to do to people once you get them on the ground. And the next night I called in and I said, I have a dental appointment for the next 6 months. I'm not going to make it in.
I'm never coming.
And yeah, but I didn't know how to do anything. I didn't know how to wait tables. I couldn't tend bar, and I couldn't lie about tending bar because I would have been fired after an hour.
So how did you make any money?
I started working. I would get jobs at dinner theaters out of town, enough to make the unemployment for the next bit stretch. And pardon me.
Here, I got some water for you.
Oh,
it's a fresh cup.
Thanks. Yeah, just so I kept going out of town to work.
Okay. It's so fascinating because when you think, your mom struggled, you went to college, you're coming here, and then you're barely making ends meet. Were you scared? I
was terrified.
Yeah.
But when I look back on it, it's some of the most pleasant memories of my life. I mean, you actually get up at 5 a.m. to go down and put your name on a list of union actors, so that maybe that they will see you after all the union actors are finished.
Wow.
Which actually paid off later. And just hustling, going out and hitting the shoe leather, learning to take no.
Oh, you take no.
Yeah, it's all no.
Did your mom get to see you be wildly successful?
Yeah,
she did. What was the big one for her?
I think it was Roseanne. She really got a bang out of that, and she was the queen of the supermarket checkout line. She slipped my name into every conversation. It was really embarrassing when we were out together, but it was something for her.
What was the first thing you bought your mom when you could?
A house, I think. Maybe. You know what? I don't know. That's a good question. I should try to remember that.
Yeah. Was it? Do you remember her emotion? Because since you did get her a house, what was?
Well, she was. It wasn't just that. It was the fact that I was okay. You know, that I wasn't laying in a gutter somewhere. That came later. But just the fact that I was okay and I was surviving, and because it was so far out of her league, she didn't. I don't think really recognized it for what I did, and nor should she have. She just she was very happy.
Wow.
Yeah.
You talk, and you've talked openly about drinking and when that became a problem for you. I mean, do you remember?
I'm drunk now. Where is this wine you speak of?
But this really did this was one of those things that did you worry that this was going to be a career ender?
No, I was too
life
drunk.
ender?
I didn't care.
You didn't care?
No, I actually, I couldn't afford to be a drunk until all I ever wanted to do was make a living as an actor. That's it. And as soon as a couple of years after I moved here, I started getting very lucky with commercial work. And that provided me with the resources to sit on a bar stool for most of the day. And I fell in with a bunch of like-minded actors up in the West Side. There were several places we went to, and I felt at home with these guys.
Yeah,
and that was fun until after I got married. And I kept doing it. It wasn't fun anymore. And then the last 10 years were just terrible. I didn't really want to drink, but I couldn't help myself. So I crashed and burned and asked for help, and I got help.
Wow. By the way, you have like a sparkle in your eye that I remember in New Orleans. Some days you did, some days you didn't. But now you do.
That sparkle cost $100 a gram.
So getting the Roseanne gig, I mean, that's, first of all, I was reading or watching how you guys both kind of felt this mutual thing. Like, she saw you and thought you were the guy. You saw her and said, wow, I think this can work.
I walked out of there, and I never did this before, but I walked out of there knowing I had the gig. And I could have been totally wrong, but it just went so well. We hit it off immediately.
Yeah. And
she made me laugh, and I made her laugh, and then we read this stuff, and it worked like dynamite. And it was just, I said that, this is something I really want to do, because I was living out of a suitcase for the last 5 years and jobbing all over the place. So this brought me out to Los Angeles, and I didn't know what it was going to do. I didn't really pay attention to television much. I was out most nights and most days. And it worked. I knew it was good, but I knew we were having fun, because that's the charm of the show. I think the reason the show works is because the family loves each other.
Yeah.
And while we were there, we grew to do that and just have so much damn fun during the day while we were rehearsing, and then on show nights, we had a ball.
I remember when it ended, and I wondered why. Like, why did it end?
I had problems of my own, as we know. I was ready to move on, and I had whatever grandiose stuff was going through my head. I had a nice little movie career going. I was kind of tired of doing it. But when the revival came back, when we started doing it again, immediately I felt this sense of gratitude. Someone just gave me a huge gift. And I still think that way. Every day I went to work there, I was so grateful. And that's something I lacked before. I think I started thinking maybe maybe I'm owed this or something like that. Just junk,
Mm-hmm.
just ego bag baloney.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that it was such a gift, and I didn't know what I had at the time,
Wow.
which was a perfect job.
When that perfect job stopped back in the day, was Roseanne and everybody else, were they like, dude, what are you doing? Like, we have a great thing going. Were they upset?
I really wasn't around that much. During the last year, they told me I could do as many shows as I wanted to, so I chose to do half the year. I didn't. I isolated myself. I really didn't care what was going on anymore.
So was it the other jobs? Was it the drinking? Like, what was it, do you think,
Well,
now
I
when you
think
analyze it?
it's not just the drinking; it's the mind that produces that kind of addiction, desire, craving. Nothing was enough.
Ah,
There was a huge black hole that needed to be filled,
sure.
and that was it. Yeah, there was something, a vortex, and it wouldn't have gone well if we had gone on.
It is cool, though, when you talk about, I mean, this, first of all, the idea that it came back was like a kind of a wow to everybody. And
It was a
to you?
miracle.
Yeah.
It was. I was on Sarah Gilbert's CBS show, The Talk.
Yeah.
She produces it.
Yeah.
And they wanted to do a little Roseanne sketch before I was on the show promoting something. So we did that, and I said, boy, this feels good. Boy, does this feel great. And it was just Sarah and I talking about something. And then during the show, she goes, would you ever consider like a reunion show or show the highlights or whatever? I said, I'd do it in a heartbeat. And she texted Roseanne and said,
Wow.
John's interested in doing this. 3 weeks later, we had a deal with ABC. So this is a huge gift.
Did you think, because sometimes you think, well, that show had its time during its time, and this is a new time, and that's, it's not going to play like it did.
New times are just like the old times. The people they are don't seem to get a break from anything, no matter who's in office, no matter what's what. And I think it's worse now than it was before.
Was it, when you guys were on the set, was it like riding a bike? I mean, did it just click right back in?
It clicked right back in.
Wow.
It clicked right back in during the first read-through. When I stepped on the set for rehearsal, the hair on my arms just jumped off my scalp tightened, and I had a full heart attack. But it's something I can't describe. It's stranger than deja vu. But again, I got to say it. It's like you're given this again. And it just immense gratitude, yeah.
Yeah, most people don't get the chance to fix something. I mean, you can try, but this is a true, like, you really get to come back in and do it all. And by the way, can I tell you, when I saw, I mean, not to make this about ratings, but OMG, the ratings of this show, I think, were higher than what you had before, and that was before.
Were they?
No, but that's insane. Now nothing gets numbers like that. Nothing. Like unless it's like a sporting event or something, everything's so like there's just nobody hears those numbers. When I heard the Roseanne numbers, I literally went like, I mean, this is unbelievable.
I wish I knew what they meant.
Yeah.
I don't know. People are congratulating me. Oh,
You're like, thank you.
Is that good?
Is that good?
No, I never. It's something. It's none of my business.
Yeah.
My business is to do the best show we can with as much pride as we can, and the other stuff is in the hands of the people.
You're right. Can we talk about your beautiful bride?
Certainly.
She has been with you through all of it.
Thin and thin.
Thin and thin. By the way, you're looking great.
Oh, thank you.
How much weight have you lost?
470 pounds. Over the years, I'd say 2.5 tons.
What are you doing? What's all this about?
I was not only drinking alcoholically, I was eating alcoholically. Anytime I didn't have something in my mouth, something was wrong. So it's a lot of exercise, smaller portions. Our friend Mackie Shilstone.
Oh, yeah, Mackie.
Yeah, had a lot to do with it initially. And I found out that I like to box.
You do?
Yeah, there's a guy in New Orleans that's a good trainer. And I hit the mitts with him. I haven't seen him for a long time. I need to get back to it, but it's really works for me because you have to keep your mind clear and your body relaxed. And it's a very effective dance.
Back to your bride for a second. Did you think a lot of women wouldn't have stuck by a man who went through that? I mean, there are many who would, but there are a lot who would have said, this is so damaging, and you don't even realize how damaging you're being.
Yeah.
I think it's one thing to be with someone who's cognizant of the pain he's inflicting, and it's another when the person's unaware.
Yeah.
So it's hard to, get your head around that.
And I never knew whether I was unaware. I just didn't care. The only thing I cared about was, getting another high going. But she was remarkable in that she. I'm sure she had her thoughts about it, but she never did leave. And we have a beautiful daughter.
She's in the business too?
She gathers props, does set dressings, things
cool.
like that. She's working her way into the union.
Yeah.
And she seems very happy doing that.
How do you raise, because, I was just thinking about this. I have obviously a little girl, but I was thinking, how do you raise a kid to, look, your mom worked and scraped and you valued all that stuff. How did you raise a young girl like your daughter to value things but realize, you could give her what she wanted, but you choose to let her figure it out? What's the magic sauce there?
Having a Southern grandmother.
And
it is yes, ma'am, no, sir.
Yeah.
And she really always had a great sense of humor. And she was always very, really sharp. And I was out of town so much that her mother primarily raised her. It breaks my heart to say that, but I think she had the burden of it because I was out working so much. But she just grew up wonderfully. Yeah, went to a great school in New Orleans. Got her values from somewhere. But I think her grandmother had a lot to do with Miss Molly.
Miss Molly. We're going to give a shout out to Miss Molly. John, we love you, and congratulations on all these great things.
Thanks.
And just keep doing what you're doing. You make us so happy.
I'll try to work on that.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Goodman. Roseanne, by the way, is, as you know, it's a hit. You already know it's on. You know where it's on. I'll say ABC even though we're NBC, but that's because I love John Goodman. We'll be back after the break right here on The Hoda Show.